Shattering Glass Chapter 14. Simon Glass was amazing at homecoming. We'd been just kind of being nice to Simon because of Rob, and face it, he was getting more presentable every day. But homecoming, he came into his own. He didn't hang onto Rob's coattails. He took over, got confidence or pride or something. It was the greatest night, no bad endings. Everybody was happy. Ginger Donaldson. As the evening progressed, Simon danced with all the homecoming nominees. Now that he was Simon Glass rather than the Wolverine, he bumbled and fumbled, but none of the girls seemed to mind. Glass had become the greatest thing since chocolate. Would you look at him? Bobster groaned. I busted my hump teaching him my best moves, and look at him. He dances like his toes are stapled together. He looked great before, Coop said. Go figure, Bobster sighed. But it worked, didn't it? Glass is the belle of the ball. It was true. Simon was congratulated, backslapped, and handshook as a conquering hero. He nodded and blushed and grinned his thanks and bumbled his way over to us. Yo, Glass, you the man, Coop shouted. Thanks, Coop. Hey, you guys, is this something else? Do I get my dance now, Simon? Rana asked. I started to say something, anything, but Rob elbowed in. Yeah, Glass, you haven't danced with this princess yet. I thought I'd leave one uncrippled, Simon said. Oh, no, you don't. A princess is royalty, and you can't refuse. Rob took Rana's hand and placed it on Glass's elbow. She curtsied and guided him out to the middle of the floor. Placing her hand delicately on his shoulder, standing at arm's length, she nodded gravely while she slid her other hand into his. They moved to the music, but Simon's wolverine tail tangled between their feet. Rana grabbed the end and held it, occasionally tickling him under the chin with its tip. Feeling like I'd swallowed fish bones, I watched them dance. Rana laughed delightedly when Simon trod on her toes, and he gazed down into her upturned face, chatting and smiling and obviously smitten. When she returned, Rana was exuberant. Simon is having the time of his life. So I see. She poked me with his finger. She poked me with her finger. Don't be that way, young. Simon thinks the world of you. Lucky me. Grr, she growled. Such a grisly old bear you are. Let Simon have his night. He can have as many nights as he wants as long as he gets his own girlfriend. The world has gone cuckoo, Rana said. 6 weeks ago, Lance Ansling was popping the elastic on the school whipping boy, and now young Stewart is jealous of Simon Glass. I didn't say anything. Well, I want to dance with my ear. I guess you'll have to come along. Rana grabbed my hand and tugged me to the floor. Not much way I can refuse an invitation like that. It wasn't an invitation, it was an order, Rana said, tucking her head under my chin. I stroked her soft cheek. Story of my life. The dance was over at 1. Rana had to go straight home because she was taking the ACT the next morning. Rana's house was a Victorian reproduction with a rambling wraparound porch, complete with swing. We sat, snuggled like puppies, swaying gently and whispering. I have to go in, Rana murmured. Wrong? Young, we both have to get up early. You've got an alarm. I need a score of at least 26, and I really want a 30. You're too ambitious. I nuzzled her earlobe. Stop that. She hunched her shoulder. I'm claiming this ear. I nuzzled again. I think I'll start a collection. Only a lunatic would want an ear. Then we're a perfect pair, I said. Yeah, a perfect pair. She turned her face up to me. If you don't kiss me, I shall become terribly despondent and fling myself into the nearest body of water. I pointed to the dog's water dish. Go for it, I said, then paused. No, I couldn't live with something like that on my conscience. I put one hand on her smooth cheek and one on the sweetly vulnerable nape of her neck. Her mouth was soft, and I could feel her breath warm on my face. I pulled back and looked at her. Her yellow-brown eyes swam before me. I kissed her, and again. I fell off the edge of the world. I picked Coop up at 7:30 the next morning. We drove to the school and staggered into the library. Coop was strung up tight, his face pale. I gotta get an 18 to qualify, he muttered like a mantra. An 18, just an 18. I gotta get an 18. Relax, Coop. I can't, Young. If I don't get an 18, I don't get a scholarship. I don't get a scholarship. I end up like my dad. It won't happen. Besides, even if you don't make it this go around, you can take the test again. Signings are in February. I've got to do it now. The test monitors checked our cards, peered at our driver's licenses, and ushered us in. Two people were allowed at each table. I noticed Rana sitting alone, twisting her hair and gnawing a nail as she read the instructions on the front of her packet. I'm gonna take one of the corrals. I'm gonna take one of the carols. Keep me from getting distracted. Okay, young? No problem. Good luck, Coop. I edged over to Rana's table. Mind some company? I asked. She looked up and smiled. Company and encouraging words. Used all those up on Coop. Rana saw Coop squinting at his packet. Poor guy. He looks like he's going to prison. Coop's in prison now. He needs an 18 to get out. The test proctor called for quiet, so Rana shot me a quizzical look before slitting the seal on her test booklet. The exam questions couldn't drag my attention away from Rana. When she crossed her long, wraparound legs, well, I reacted appropriately. The proctor's nudge brought me back to reality, and I had to work fast to finish the first section. The other sections of the test I spent in other fantasies, mostly about those legs. Yet the contradiction of those gnawed nails got their share of my attention too. Rana finished before the bell and swiveled to check Coop. I could see him, hunched over his booklet, his face pained and his hair rumpled into sweaty clumps. When the final bell rang and the papers were shuffled into stacks for the proctor, Coop rested his forehead against the desk surface, his body language whispering defeat. Finally, he scraped back into his chair. How goes it, Coop? I asked as we filed out of the library. That was a bitch and a half, Coop muttered. I thought learning a playbook was hard. Let's grab a burger, I offered. I'll pass, Coop said. I want to go home. Rana and I traded worried looks. It wasn't like Coop to refuse food. Can I get a ride? Rana asked. Dad dropped me off, so I'm bumming. I'd have carried her on my back over a bed of nails. Sure, we'll drop Coop off first, if that's okay. She nodded as she linked her arm through Coop's. Come on, big guy. Go with us for hamburger or a pizza. Coop slouched into the backseat of the car. Can't, Ron. Simon canceled our morning run all week. I'm going to skip lunch and work out. I can't afford to get flabby just because the season is over. The season's only been over since last night, I said. He shrugged and slid lower in the seat. We rode the rest of the way in silence. When I pulled into Coop's driveway, I had to toot the horn to clear my path of the three dogs lazing on the shaded concrete. Are all those your dogs? Rana asked. Yeah, strays seem to know that I'm a pushover. I think about them wandering around all alone, and next thing you know, they're sleeping on my bed. He opened the door and slumped out. I didn't finish even one of the sections, not even one. We watched him trudge to his house. Is he going to be all right? Rana asked. He'll bounce back pretty soon. I'm worried about what happens when the results come in. You ought to be worried about your own scores. Dad told me I have to take it 3 times and use the best score. I'll take the SAT too. I don't need to obsess over every test. Dad does that for me. Have it your way. What are you doing the rest of the afternoon? Nothing. Wrong. Rhonda slid off her shoes and propped her feet on the dashboard. You're taking me to Houston. To the zoo. The zoo? Animals, seals, elephants, lions, and tigers and bears. Oh my.